want to talk to you today about a very interesting story about a manga known as Hinako Note. Now, it's not necessarily the manga where the interesting story comes from, but it's from the author of this manga, and just essentially the story around what exactly happened to Hinako Note and why it ended back in 2021. Now, before we get into exactly what the story is, what exactly is Hinako Note? And who is the author? Well, Hinako Note is a story about a young girl who really has a hard time speaking with others, right? But she was always interested in theater. So, of course, as you know, theater requires you to act in front of people and actually communicate with people. So it was a struggle for her. But she was confident and wanted to do theater. So she moved to a new high school where she wanted to join essentially a theater club. However, the theater club was apparently on hiatus, so she could not join them. However, this 4-panel manga is essentially her adventures with theater, really getting to know not only herself and trying to combat her trouble speaking with others, but also the adventures between her friends and the residents of her new hometown as they form a theatrical troupe. On the surface, it is very wholesome. It's a very say-so-esque manga, right? There's some controversial things or decisions made by the author that people have pointed out, but for the most part, it is essentially a very wholesome manga. Now, the author, the mangaka of this manga, goes by the name of Mitsuki, and back in 2021 ended publication, and a lot of fans of the manga were confused. And thus, rumors started spreading, specifically in the Japanese forums and websites, about how Mitsuki probably had some sort of issues with the comic publisher, had some sort of issues with the voice actors of the anime of Hinako Note, which, it's very strange to have a real beef with the voice actors. But rumors like that started spreading exactly about why Hinako Note was suddenly just ended. And these rumors continued to spread, and no one really knew exactly what happened. Was it low sales? Was it the conflict? Was it issues with the publication? No one really knew for quite a while, until the author, Mitsuki themselves, came out recently talking about why it ended. Why Hinako Note just all of a sudden ended back in 2021. So, according to the author Mitsuki, she apparently, according to, this is definitely kind of like where it crosses the line between localization and translation. She was getting too horny. I'm horny. And she wanted to draw more lewd. She wanted to draw more ecchi, right? And of course, Kamekune at the time did not really allow that. They were more of the wholesome say-so type of magazine, but they tried to prevent, mangakas from drawing anything lewd and ecchi. And slowly, Kamekune has allowed that more often, but Mitsuki did not want to change her story to, change with the times, because she herself felt like it just wasn't enough. So, Mitsuki decided to just end the manga and go on this journey to essentially draw doujins, R18 artwork, ecchi artwork, to the point where she actually drew some of the characters of Hinako Note on her own artist page in very lewd fashion. That's a really big career change. Now, it's not often that you hear a author going from a published serialized manga straight into R18, right? It's more of the opposite way, where an author or an artist starts off drawing R18 content first and then moving on to a serialization, a publication in an actual magazine such as Shonen Jump. Best example is Shun Saeki, who drew Food Wars for Shonen Jump. He was a R18 artist for a long time before making that jump. But Mitsuki just wanted to draw R18 content, and she was apparently struggling with, horniness and not being allowed to draw that for her own serialization, which she wanted to do. She wanted to get a little bit more risque with her work to the point where, the magazine did not allow her and she just couldn't handle it anymore. So she decided to end the serialization and go on her R18 journey, which all the power to you. You are an artist. You could choose whatever you want to draw, and that's what they have decided. So it apparently wasn't some sort of like beef with the comic. It wasn't some sort of beef with the voice actors of the anime or anything like that. There was just some miscommunication and like disinterest in what Kamikune at the time wanted and what she wanted. So there was like a slight miscommunication, right? She wanted to draw more R18 content, which is a lot more believable than just claiming that she was just horny and she really wanted to draw it. She just wanted to draw it. Whether or not she was horny or not, I don't know. That's not up to me to decide, right? But that's what's loony about it, because it's very rare for a artist to transition from that. And it's it's interesting because it started so much drama over like Hinako Note and exactly what happened to it, that it got canceled, that it frustrated a lot of fans over on the Japanese side. But she really just wanted to venture off into the world of R18 because that's what she was enjoying more, you know. And she didn't want to do it for Hinako Note, despite the fact that Kamikune was allowing that more and more as the years went by. And she just decided to herself cancel it. Now, it doesn't mean that it's over for her as a manga author, because as we know, and I've said this before just recently, manga authors start off as R18, move on to making publications, actual serialized work later down on the line. And apparently, Mitsuki does have a manga coming up fairly shortly. She apparently has startup of a new manga idea and wants it to be serialized and, published, which more than likely will happen. But I do find it funny that like a lot of people online are clamoring that she was just too horny, or like using the statement that she was too horny. Maybe she did say that. I'm not exactly 100% sure if that's the words that she was using, or it was just some sort of mistranslation with like the Google translator, or it was just fans just having or using that word because it'll make a funnier headline. Who knows? All I know is that she wanted to draw more R18 content. Kamikune did not want that at the time. And you know what? She went out to live her dream at the end of the day. It was not some sort of like sales were low. It was not because of issues with the comic or magazine, I should say, or with voice actors. She just wanted to draw R18 content. And you know what? If that's what you want to do as an artist, you have the power to do so, because R18 content online is very popular. A lot of people literally support artists who draw R18 content constantly. Now, of course, you may not like the certain R18 content she might draw, but it's part of what R18 content is in Japan, Like, I disagree with it, but people will prefer it and would give her money to continue creating that art. But hey, like I said, art, it's an artist's choice. If that's what the artist wants to do, then that is their choice at the end of the day. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about this because it just came out recently about why Hinako Note was canceled, and and we finally got a reason why from the actual author themselves. And like I said, all the power to them. They could do whatever they want. They have that freedom of art, But like I said, it was just a loony thing. It was just a very loony, just news about it. So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you guys next time. All right, bye bye.